It's the ledger you found in the trash. A cabbage of an aluminium block runs the width of the board, biting down on the paperwork. Its crocodile teeth are the only thing keeping the papers together. A regular pencil, the tip worn down to nothing, has been attached to the clip. The surface is interrupted by a silvery sticker. It's rectangular, sparkling with iridescence. You don't know how you didn't notice it before.
What? That thing. It's a halogen watermark. We use it for adding information to RCM property. It depends. Aside from an anti-counterfeiting stamp, mine has my station number and address. The information varies by date of issue.
Maybe yours will have how many cases you've solved. How many years you've been on the force, he's thinking. It'll have that.
Any capable light with the right wavelength will do. All RCM vehicles have had lights designed to reveal halogen watermarks. Mine too.
The lieutenant fears this will lead to fiddling with the delicate, folding headlights on his motor carriage. They're dear to him.
Okay.
While a bunch of sodden papers sag from the clipboard in your hand, it's a sorry sight. They're not exactly white. They're yellowed in patches by sunlight and alcohol, and covered in dense blue handwriting. Ink escapes into watercolor patterns, reaching its tendrils across entire pages. The paper itself is checkered, with faint red lines, forming short paragraphs. Once in a while, there's a red stamp that exclaims, "Case files commit to paper." The case files themselves are plenty. You count more than 100 sodden, crumpled up, earmarked pages falling apart in your hands. They appear to be sufficiently organized and extremely dense, if mostly illegible. Work, strife, poverty, the Jamrock Quarter. These are handwritten logs of investigations dating back to January 51, this year. The exact number is hard to estimate due to missing pages and an odd naming convention. But there are at least 20, maybe 30 cases undertaken, not completed, mind you. It's the middle of March. You have attempted 2 cases a week on average.
Huh? 2 complex cases to undertake is a lot, yes. You really have to push yourself. I would not suggest it, lest you start making mistakes. 2? That's a lot. I didn't mean to say you are making mistakes, by the way. That was presumptuous of me. That's okay. We all do, sooner or later.
Like a fan of gills, the checkered papers dry in your hand. The handwriting is extremely dense, if mostly illegible. Yes, it appears you employ a, shall we say, robust yet literary system. Each investigation has its case number written on the margins. Yet, still more tellingly, most are accompanied by a name. A title, one might say even. One that draws inspiration from snoop fiction and vespertine cop show staples. Yes, all caps. One is called The Next World Mural. Another, The Square Bullet Hole Murders. Another yet, The Unsolvable Case. Others appear more light-hearted. The guys on a couch in an unexpected location, and the murder at the hookah parlor. Even the rare article-free collapsing tenement. Murder features prominently throughout. It's going to take an effort to piece these case files together, but it can be done. Once you're done inspecting them up close.
You mean the alphanumeric? Officer, precinct, time of arrival at the scene? Oh, you mean the titular? Yes, well, so do I. In our defense, almost everyone in the RCM does. It's a holdover from the early days of the RCM, right after the revolution, when the organization had little idea how to do things. It persists in an unofficial capacity. Officers use these titles to refer to their work among themselves. Again, in your defense, I seem to have named one, the man with the hole in his head. That was a real person. His death was real. Still, I named it that, to amuse myself. I pray his loved ones never find out. Rail spiked through the head. He died. It was a workplace accident.
There is, for precisely one more. 15 pages near the end remain untouched by the damage. The checkered grid forms a structure of passages, breaking the case into subtasks to accomplish. Once all the tasks are accomplished, the case is complete. The tasks you've completed flow out of the kind green ape pen in a brash freehand similar to the rest of the letters. The wording comes easily. It's almost robotically simple, a language developed for mental rigor and simplicity. Inspect the victim's body. Interview the cafeteria manager. It's not exactly poetry, but poetry would be out of place. A satisfying slash sounds across the paper. You're done, it seems to say. And you, and you. Things to be done and things already done. The composition of reality. This is an extremely useful tool for a detective of the citizens' militia. Now all that remains is to name the case.
No, actually. Any ideas? Okay. It's a good name, but it has one problem. This case has nothing to do with the setting sun. At all. It has nothing to do with that, so... something more concrete, perhaps? Do you have something concrete? Mundane, usual?
Usual is boring. We don't do that.
Oh, well, then maybe I can suggest one. The Hanged Man.
He really likes that name.
Thank you. I think so too. Good and normal. I'm going to start calling it the Hanged Man. It's good we sorted this out.
You don't exactly close them, so much as distance yourself from the smelly papers. They're a little further. Yes, you can piece them together using the alphanumeric code on the margin. It always begins with HDB 41, then date of initialization and time of arrival on the scene, followed by the title. For example, HDB 41120111700. Why yes, your precinct number is 41. Every last alphanumeric in the files begins with it. And these are your case files. It's safe. Yeah, no. It takes about half an hour to piece one together using the system you've devised. Where do you want to start? This one is relatively easy to reconstruct. Overnight on 1202, a graffito, nay, a mural, appears on an 8-story tenement overlooking central Jamrock. The building is a sparsely inhabited ghost tower, part of a failed real estate development called Grand Couronne. The mural is enormous. 2 silhouettes, a man and a woman, are kissing. The text cut into their form reads, "True love is possible only in the next world. For new people, it is too late for us. Wreak havoc on the middle class. People call it that thing and that fucking thing. It's visible for miles. In 2 days, the station's complaints desk gets clogged with requests to remove the bummer. You and your partner are assigned to the case. The graffito crew is easy to track down. Only the belles-lettres have the literage of industrial paint to cover the surface. One of the graffito artists is rumored to be rich. They take responsibility for the execution, but not the design. The ideologue of the Next World mural, as the crew calls it, remains an unknown. The case files do not show you finding the author of the design. The crew agrees to clean up after themselves. However, your partner, JV, is against the removal, citing public support for conservation. This leads to a debate in Precinct 41, which then spreads to the streets of Jamrock, ending in a rare plebiscite organized by you and the rest of Row 3. The 9,000 people subjected to the mural's message, all of Lakeside, Central Jamrock, and Villalobos, plus half of the eminent domain, participate in the vote. Although the case begins with what appears to be a lot of rambling on the streets as to how juvenile and stupid the mural is, given a choice between 2 options. A staggering 78% of voters choose to keep it. Turns out the opposition were a loud minority, and that love truly is possible in the next world for new people. and it is too late for us. Did anyone ask you what you believe in, man with the smelly toilet ledger? What do you want to tackle next? Or are we done? AKA Leslie and Burke, AKA the public indecency drunk and the property damage drunk, is a cursed case. It has been passed from unsuspecting officer to unsuspecting officer for 10 years. On January 29, the unsolvable case made its way to you. Why you accepted it, it is unclear. Every officer, and indeed most civilians in Jamrock, know it's unsolvable. Leslie will always take his pants off when he's drunk. Burke will always trash everything. It's just what they do. It is their nature. You cannot change the nature of a man, and you can't lock them away because public indecency and small-scale property damage are not punishable by incarceration. The only way for Leslie to stop flashing his genitals to bypassers and for Burke to stop dismantling signage and rear-view mirrors would be for them to stop drinking alcohol, which, in their 40s or 50s, it's hard to tell because of their distorted features, is a medical improbability on par with you ceasing to produce the expression. You would think that, but you're wrong. Where's the fun in exposing your genitals or breaking stuff in your own home? No, Leslie and Burke are on the corner of Main Street and Perdition because that's where the action is. Can you keep yourself off the streets? Threatening fines, dragging them to the station, locking them up in the hellholes they live in, locking them up in the station, hypnotherapy, even trying to get the local gang of Zemyaki to take them out. The Zemyaki gave them ethanol so Burke and Leslie would expose and rampage even harder. You tried it all, and still the complaints wouldn't stop, as they hadn't stopped for 10 years. It's plain to see from the files that you, Satellite Officer JV, and Special Consultant TH had more important cases to attend to. You uncover cross-reference to several ongoing investigations, each brought to a standstill every time you drive down Main Street. Because there they are, on the corner of Perdition. And what is Leslie doing? Good, you're learning. If the files are to be trusted, that's all there is to it. That and Burke breaking things, and the fact that they're both drunk. But then again, so are you. The case becomes considerably less comic one day when Burke takes a swing at your ledger. He must have it confused with the property he likes to damage. But the joke's on him. The officer is also drunk. Way more drunk than Burke there. And let's be fair, you also have party eyes. You slam the hardened plastic board in his face, then proceed to beat him unconscious with it. In the process, the ledger sustains damage. The compartment within, reserved for permeable documents, is jammed shut. You stop your assault on the now unconscious Burke to open it, but are unable to do so. The officer began to cry, reports Leslie, who, at this point, is tending to Burke. He came at us, and at us. I think he was trying to kill Burko. While trying to kill Burko, you slowly come around. The permeables compartment is open. You've smashed it open on poor Burko's kneecaps. The good news is, Burke can't walk anymore. Can't get out of his apartment, an invalid. With Burke to tend to, Leslie cuts back on the indecent exposure. Maybe he flashes his genitals to Burke. Who knows? But both drunks are off the street. The complaints stop. The unsolvable case is solved. Which is also why the officer responsible narrowly escapes a disciplinary hearing. The end. Do you want to read another one? It would be very interesting to read about these, wouldn't it? I mean, there seems to be a square-shaped entry wound in the victim's forehead. She's been sitting there for weeks, on her rocking chair, with a square hole in her skull, staring at the wall. That's all you got. From the half hour you spent piecing it together, all you know is the entry wound was square-shaped. You never found the bullet. And then another body showed up, also with a square hole in his forehead. Who knows? Those pages are missing. What next? Don't worry. One day you may still catch the man with the square gun. Some assholes brought their couch outside and hung out on it. In the middle of the street, on the roof, on the hillside by the motorway. You know, at an unexpected location. They were young, and they thought they looked cool on it. Yes, as you said here, total assholes. Young people are the worst. So anyway, you got a complaint about the damn sofa, or couch, or whatever it was. They were leaving it out in all these unexpected and whimsical locations. They took it to where they also took photos of themselves on it, and smoked cigarettes, and drank coffee because they felt it's intellectual. Cigarette butts, coffee cups, stupid couch. You had to clean it all up. No, you didn't have time for that. These notes show that you have what is called a real goddamn job. You don't have time to be chasing down the couch assholes. You have a real job to do. What next? Murder. Tum at the hookah parlor was a case originally assigned to an officer called Joseph Mills, who is now dead, of circumstances completely unconnected to murder at the hookah parlor. Beaten to death by a throng of Villalobos gang members when him and his partner J.M., only initials mentioned, answered a call one night. It's a sad story, and it isn't really represented in your case files. Stop stalling and get to the murder at the hookah parlor. Joseph Mills was on this case that he just couldn't solve, was doing it solo, said it was a real nutcracker, a real brain twister, was on it for, like, a month. The captain got impatient. Shit or get off the pot, Mills. Mills didn't get off the pot. Not yet. He kept at it for a couple of weeks more, racking his brains, running with every theory, as outlandish as they seemed. Still couldn't solve the murder at the hookah parlor. Tough case, he said. Toughest he's ever had. No, he was awful. Awful sense of humor, too. The worst jokes you've ever heard. Really rapey. Still, he'd been on it for months now. Said it was the final case. Said it was uncrackable. That murderer vanished into thin air. That goddamn hookah parlor was all he talked about. Okay, so the case is handed to you because Mills isn't getting anywhere, and you look into it. Here's the setup. A young man is found dead in a hookah parlor. You know, those places where you go and smoke bubblegum-flavored vapor all day. Yeah, really lame. So anyway, young man in his 20s found with his skull busted open, right on the floor of the hookah parlor, in the middle of the day. No one else is in there, only client that day. In perfect health, too. Some kind of movie producer. No one enters, no one exits. He's just sucking on his watermelon hookah all morning, all noon, like he usually does. He's a regular. No calls, nothing, just sucking on the hookah until 15:45. Then bam, he's dead on the floor with his skull busted open, blood everywhere. What happened? How can it be? Mills has no idea. Invisible assassin, movie deal gone sour. Girl at the counter did it. Nothing fits. Eerie. Man just dropped dead. So you go to the parlor. You see? You can't even read the thing without solving it. Yeah, it was that. Smoking hookah. Didn't you hear? Not much has changed in the meanwhile. A bunch of arson. You don't exactly. It takes about. Not much is. In the back, you see thin, translucent copier paper. Some neon yellow. Some bright red. All covered in. Then rip them from the binder. 3. The topmost are You don't have to be an intellectual giant to do police work. A monetary penalization, a tool for these are quite a dozen pages. Yes, what delicious power hid. The rest of the stinking cellulose is it's made of dark, something rat permeables. The plastic shimmers like blue. The blue heart with your hands. You four-sized pages hang from the clip, screwed. The acidic stench of rotting food as rubbed off is not what you... The ledger quivers. Kingdom of conscience. The kingdom of conscience will be exactly as it is now. Moralists don't really have beliefs. Sometimes they stumble on one, like on a child's toy left on the carpet. The toy must be put away immediately, and the child reprimanded. Centrism isn't change, not even incremental change. It is control over yourself and the world. Exercise it. Look up at the sky, at the dark shapes of the coalition airships hanging there. Ask yourself, is there something sinister in moralism? And then answer, no. God is in his heaven. Everything is normal on earth.
We should think about calling it a day, maybe. The nights are still miserable. We can pick up where we left off tomorrow morning.
This is the door to the...
Just a moment. We should talk about our progress on the investigation.
The air outside is brisk. The lieutenant is silent for a moment. He listens to the traffic hum. Then...
Now then, we should talk about the investigation. But I also feel you're a bit hazy on the RCM. Our role here, our rights, our jurisdiction, basically. I have a cigarette every night when I go over my notes. It's something of a ritual.
Oh man, he looks so devastatingly cool with that cigarette.
You mean this? This isn't cool. It's an unnecessary trial of will, and unhealthy.
Keeping the habit within the parameters he's given himself takes a lot of focus. It would be easier to simply quit.
I apologize, but I only brought one with me. I have exactly one cigarette every night while going over my notes. Yes, it's been a long and eventful day. Well, we didn't even look at the body. And there's still much to do at the crime scene too. We didn't search it thoroughly enough.
He would have put all of this more harshly, but he doesn't want you to feel completely discouraged. Probably because he's afraid that you'll just give up and keep drinking.
It's not my job to evaluate your methodology, officer. I'm just going through the facts. As for the interviews, we weren't able to find the union leader, Evrak. We interviewed Joyce Messier, the Wild Pines rep, and learned a lot. None of it very good news for us or Martinez. But above all, though, today was exhausting. What's with all the running? You run a lot. Is that a standard Precinct 41 practice? It's impressive, to say the least. For a man your age, especially. Those are some stylish shoes too, by the way. Those loafers. Must be hard to run in those like you do. They're quite limited, actually. The power officers of the Revachol Citizens Militia exercise most frequently is imposing fines of up to 1,000 real for offenses, in accordance with an interdepartmental schedule. Yes, although indirectly, as citizens can always request records from their local station. Officers of the RCM have been known to take bribes of less than the prescribed fine amount. It undermines trust in the RCM. The RCM's primary role is to ensure safety. We are not really supposed to play any part in the economic structure of Revachol. We can arrest people, of course, but rather than bringing someone in there, we are permitted to use whatever force we deem necessary, even lethal. We don't convict. We arrest and send them to coalition government courts in Courron and La Delta. The prosecution works off our testimonies and records, which is why it's paramount to keep them. You have to supply compelling evidence for why it was necessary to use lethal force. In these cases, your partner is usually your witness. Not a good position to be in, by the way. Internal Affairs handles these cases thoroughly, by cross-examining you for inconsistencies. It is hard to cover for anyone, which is for the best. Yes.
He says it matter-of-factly and moves on.
That's an improbability, perhaps even impossibility. Precinct 41 is known for a higher-than-average rate of police violence.
He's not judging you. He's respectfully acknowledging the difficulty of working in your precinct.
The coalition government and the moral intern more broadly. The RCM was formed by the coalition government to restore order in the international zone after the revolution. So we did. Now we attempt to maintain that order. No more, no less. Or perhaps it is better to say we were allowed to form. It's a point of contention whether the citizens of Revachol or the coalition government founded the RCM. Silence. A great comment to such a conundrum. The Moralist International are the world's largest political organization. You know who they are. They're a union of center-left and center-right parties across the Real Belt. Our coalition government is just one of its many projects. They also run the ICP, EPIS, most intergovernmental organizations in the world. What do they believe in? They are Dolorians. They believe they continue the humanist project set forth by Her Innocence Dolores Day 4 centuries ago. Others say they are just technocrats. Interesting question. It's a blue forget-me-not. Their motto is love, compassion, self-discipline. I think you can gauge what they want you to think of them from that.
Something kind and usual. Something almost self-explanatory. Something ominous.
A historic figure? The author of the modern age? You will have to look elsewhere for opinions. The subject of humanism is too abstract for me. The moral intern are a fact. I try not to have opinions on facts until they change. And it doesn't look like that's about to happen.
It is more than that. There's some kind of affection in him.
Yes, I did, when I was younger. In my 20s, I considered myself a moralist. A blue forget-me-not, a piece of the sky. They're not all that bad.
That's another leitmotif associated with moralism.
But the years have changed that. I don't know what I believe in now. No, I believe in the RCM. Do you? My kind of police officer.
The dying lights of the city shimmer below. Slowly, like luminous clouds, they pass on his lenses. The lieutenant looks at his slim cigarette, contemplating the next drag. This soldier is the highlight of the day for me, he thinks. This little stick right here.
They really don't like us here. And the mouth on that kid, Kuno. It's different inland, in Jamrock and the GRIH. It's our fault for leaving this place to the dogs, to the Union, to the company, not daring to come here more often. This place has fallen between the cracks, the jurisdictions of our 2 precincts. We run this city. West of the river is RCM land. It's incredibly hard. Human beings are... But we are in control, and it's worth it. The organization works, our systems work. If they didn't, the city would disintegrate.
Night. Captain Ptolemy Price steps into the yard. A piebald horse waits by the motor carriage, chewing oats out of an oat bag. Seagulls fly overhead. The sky is black. Captain Price wears a black suit and a standard patrol coat as he mounts the horse to head home. Rows of houses on either side, hunching over the sidewalks, and Precinct 41 with its dome roof growing distant. Around him, the streets are silent, A kid on the corner waves at the captain as he takes the turn on petition and main. The horse neighs. The captain nods back. Thanks, kid, he thinks. He's grateful.
That seems unwise to me, but it's too late for an all-out political debate. Yeah, it's getting very cold now. Let's go.
The bed is cold and not particularly inviting. The sheets feel at once coarse and clammy against your skin. The bed sags beneath your weight as you stretch out and finally close your... And then sleep doesn't come. Maybe it's the bed's fault. It's a little better. Colors, scenes, and half-formed phrases still litter your mind. Part of you is still trying to solve the case. Is it something to do with, what was it that the lieutenant said? Union? And it's gone again. Your thoughts lost between the slowing brain waves. Your breathing steadies. A great silence washes over you until your eyelids twitch in your sleep and images start forming.
Do you remember the scent of your childhood? What it says on the can, Harry. Answer the question. Do you remember your wife's hand on your face? That's right, funky baby. And you just stood there. One hand on the bottle and the other on your dick. Watching her go. Tell me, where are your friends? Human beings have friends, Harry boy. Where the hell are yours? They were only cramping your descent into the abyss. Now they're gone. 3 times gone and never coming back. All of it. You failed. You failed me. You failed Elysium. No, you haven't. You're just sleep-talking. And the act is wearing thin, too. The spots on the disco ball fade around you. You'll be back in those cold snakeskins in no time, sweating up the bed. Stinky boy. Everything. The pale and the useless. On the surface. The outer magnetosphere. Burning, furious truth. 8,000 years of written history. You really dropped the ball, Harry. 4.6 billion people. And you failed every single one of them. You really fucked up. You're not coming back from shit. Thrashing around in that. Help you?
So something is wrong. Oh yes, party boy. And it's worse than the one before. Just think of the shit you saw. Here it comes too. So soon already. A silent alarm goes off in your head like clockwork. Barely let you sleep at all. Time to get those clothes on, Harry. Time to go to work in the shit factory.
Good going, buddy. Oh, just a dream. You have ones like that all the time. You feel even worse this morning than you did last night. You mean, why are you so tired? Too tired and down to even think? It is worrying, isn't it? You can't be a detective like this. Detectives need to be able to think. It's just that your heart has finally pumped all the speed out of your system, Buster. Time to get some more. Don't do that. Stay strong. The hangover will wear off. You don't need to keep doing this to yourself. Of course, Martinez is speed central. You just gotta poke around, follow your nose. You and Speed will be happy again. You will make her come home. This time, it will be different. It's just a racist mug. What's there to read here? Not, oh boy, here we go. What are you going to say about a broken, tossed away mug that you dug out of the garbage? So again, you dug it out of the trash. Why? It wasn't going to offend anyone there. Why don't you just get back to your case?
Morning. Looks like we can get to work at once. The union muscle turned up. They look rowdy. We should talk to them. A lot of things point to the dock workers union. The circumstances in Martinez, my preliminary information. That's not a lot of things. We should have dug up more yesterday. Still, we need to talk to them, and it won't be easy. I mean ungovernable. Martinez isn't exactly enthusiastic about the RCM being here. They prefer to be policed by the union. These men here. Men who drink beer for breakfast? There's talk of an armed wing of the union called the Hardy Boys, who are responsible for state policing. I think it's them. I completely forgot. Sorry, I had a rough night's sleep. It's them by the looks of it. Loud and nasty, just like the manager said. One loose thread less to worry about, and one big problem to replace it. That would just escalate tensions. No captain would sign off on it. Solving one murder isn't worth a conflict between the RCM and the Debarders Union. In fact, even the death of 2 detectives might not warrant an all-out war. So let's keep a cool head, okay? One more thing before we do. We don't have to talk to them immediately. We can walk right past them, continue with our business.
Good. A power move. Purposefully concentrate on something else first. But aren't you curious to know what they have to say about the murder?
They're in no hurry to leave. They think they own the place. Anyway, I leave that choice to you.
Can I help you?
Got the 20 real.
Then why?
Just a moment, and there's no...
The closest phone booth is down the coast. Sorry for the inconvenience, ma'am.
It's fine, I understand. Thank you anyway. I'm glad to see you again, dear. Please don't trouble yourself about me, sweetie. I was just hoping to make a call, but the Whirling's phone line isn't working. The union office probably has a phone, but I can't really get there. Or to the phone booth down the coast. And Gary's phone is dead too. The manager was vague about it. To let the young woman who's house-sitting for us know that we may be delayed. Morel, my husband, and our friend Gary were supposed to get back by Monday night, but they're still missing, and I haven't heard from them. I was also hoping she'd heard from Morel.
A little missing persons puzzle might just be the thing to take your mind off the hangover. You hear that? Someone's missing. There could be foul play afoot. That's right. Now skip the foreplay. Time to dive into the dark alleys. Start shaking down the usual suspects. You know, legwork.
That's just it. Important things to worry about. Just some field work, sweetie. Morel is a highly trained scientist. He and his assistant Gary are studying an extremely rare species of insect. But they should have returned by now. They were just going down the coast across the waterlock to set a few traps. He said they'd be back on Monday. What could be keeping them? Oh, sweetie, it's nothing like that. Gary's as loyal as they come. I trust him with my husband's life any day. I doubt it, sweetie. The traps aren't big enough for humans to get caught in them. They're for the insect. Anyway.
Do it. Find him. This will surely lead to a mystery with that extremely rare insect. Yes, please. Some science fiction is exactly what's needed right now. Spice up that vanilla murder investigation.
Are you sure we have time to go chasing after bug hunters just now? I did suggest we play it cool, but... if you say so.
Oh, thank you, officers. Truly, I'll be right here if you come across any sign of Morel. Oh my. What happened to the waterlock? Well, whatever the cause, I'm thankful. To both of you. You've spared me another sleepless night.
You're welcome, ma'am.
I hate to ask, but if your investigation takes you to the other side of the coast, please do keep an eye out for my husband. And if you see him, let him know Lena is waiting for him here at the Whirling. He gets so tangled up in his work that he may not know the waterlock's been repaired. And it's cold out there. Oh, you're such a dear. Thank you, sweetie.
The man ponders his cooking utensils and gives you a little nod. He looks up at you, then... Behind the dockworkers, a ceiling-height window. The hawthorn bright. There's a little slide panel up there to let some... Inside, you see a set of steering levers, a radio microphone, a pull-out.
All right. Ready?
He's down playing. The dashboard lights up with the lights unfold.
There you go.
As you hold your ledger's clip under the headlamp, an iridescent hologram appears. A street grid and the veins of a great river. A familiar sensation washes over you.
There she is. Revachol West.
Around the borders of the watermark are dozens, no, hundreds of micro-perforations. The rectangular watermark is overlaid with the logo of the RCM, and yet the major arteries of Revachol are all recognizable. They shimmer in the Kanema's headlights. A rat brazenly darts past you and disappears amongst the stopped lorries. In the distance, a child somewhere shrieks. A woman reprimands her in a voice no quieter than the child's cry.
Ah, Martinez. Let me see. Right here. It has its problems.
There are many of them, and they are divided into 3 separate rows. The first row has 18 dots. The next is the longest. It runs all the way around the border, and then some. There are so many, it's hard to count. More than 150, at least. Maybe even 200. The last row has 3 perforations. That's it.
Those are perforations. They represent your record as an officer of the RCM. They are your statistics, as it were. I should have guessed you'd keep a record. Officers often do. Let's take a look. The first row represents your years of service. 18 years. Okay, not bad at all. What did you do before you volunteered? That's what it says. I might have guessed even longer based on your age. What did... Fair point. Let's move on, shall we? This next row, the one that wraps all the way around, is your number of closed cases. Closed is good. It means finished. You've got, let's see, wow, more than 200. It's quite a lot, even for someone who's been on the force for nearly 2 decades. Usually, clearing more than 10 cases a year puts you in the 90th percentile of all RCM officers. Right. Those are your confirmed kills. You've got precisely 3 perforations there. For an RCM officer, especially Precinct 41, which is in the Jamrock quarter, it's rather tame. I mean that in a good way.
What's it feel like to kill a man, Mr. McCoy? A young woman asked the man across the desk from her. Honestly, babe, says John McCoy, crossing his ankles over said desk. I don't feel anything anymore. It's just like brushing my teeth. I do it once or twice a week and don't really think about it. There's no trace of guilt in his voice.
There are certain officers who treat their kills like some kind of ghoulish game. If they do happen to solve a case, it's usually by accident. But it seems as though you are, or at least were, one of the good ones. So we have that to be thankful for. Yes.
It's not a problem for him to state it, however.
Everyone has their own method of coping, some more effective or self-destructive than others. Personally, I find it helps to keep up a few hobbies. Why not gardening? You've already got the yellow gloves.
It's meant in earnest. Please don't mistake it for a jab. The lieutenant nods.
Right. I'll go turn off the lights.
There he still is, looking right through you with his white eyes. The body
Hello? Me? No one. I'm just a working class woman.
She doesn't really want to be disturbed that much. If she's such a working class woman, why isn't she working?
Looking for something to read. It is. I know you are. What with?
This citizen thinks she can do without your assistance. Don't buy it. They all need help. Her hands move over the book covers. The tips of her fingers look rough.
My husband? No, he's not. I don't know. At home now? Out drinking with his friends? Working?
Where is this going, officer?
She gives you a short nod and shifts her attention back.
I don't mean to disrespect, sir, but you are being a bit of a cockatoo here.
For what it's worth, I agree. But cockatoos can't be stopped when they get ladies. It's better to indulge him at this point.
I don't even have a cockatoo. And guess what? Even if I had, it wouldn't be missing. Great. Nothing. Go read up on them if you're so interested. There's a great book in the bookstore.
Maybe you should. What if the cockatoo is your astral captain? Or your heraldic bird?
Wonderful. The store is open. No, absolutely not. Are you a policeman or a nanny? They are not missing, sir.
You know where they are. They're at home, smoking, giving the ladder of vices a chance. What if something horrible has happened? What if they're dead? That's the bad vibe you got before.
What? That's just... My daughters are perfectly fine. They're with their friends down in Shamrock. There's nothing to worry about.
She's getting upset. Her voice has risen as she tries to convince herself that her daughters are safe.
They're almost grown up now anyway. They're past the age they need me protecting them from everything now. My youngest girl, Jolie, is just shy of 16. Jenny, she is turning 18 next month. But we shouldn't even be talking about them. Why do you need to know this? Haven't I repeatedly told you that they're not missing? That there is no investigation here. I can tell you that.
Okay, it must be asked then. What are you doing here? The woman before...
Hi, Ace Detective. Oh, that's Auntie Billy. She's nice if a bit distressed. I think she is a bad husband. Not very nice or helpful.
Welcome to Crime, Romance, and Biographies of Famous People. My name is Plaisance. Be welcome, and please take responsibility for the energy you bring into this space.
A golden pendant hangs around the woman's neck in the shape of what looks like a tiny fish head trapped in amber.
Sir, don't be ridiculous. I certainly will not give you money. I would be doing you a grave psychic disfavor. One has to earn one's success, even if one is a police officer. Handouts are nothing but manipulation. All they do is make you dependent.
What is this insolence? She misunderstood.
Now, hey there. Sounds like someone isn't taking responsibility for the energy they bring into this space. Tribute? Power? These are not the traditions we're used to in this part of the world. Oh yes, helps to have an anchor in these times. I am the proudest owner of our little shop of culture.
She has fine-tuned her voice to find the most welcoming approach for attracting new customers. It doesn't work.
A book about cockatoos twos? There should be one upstairs, right next to the shelf of biographies. Then why are you talking to me? Everything is on the shelves to browse. Don't you feel compelled to buy anything? See those? Everything is on the shelves. Take a look yourself.
She's attempting to mentally direct you towards the shelves. She only wants you to buy the goods. She doesn't care about the books.
Truth be told, not really. My sister brings in most of the goods. I'm sure it's all very literary stuff with well-written prose. But you don't learn about the important things in life from fabricated stories. I provide a valuable service. As long as people buy books, I'm fine. The truth is available if you just know where to look, and you have to open and free your mind to understand.
She smiles and nods, seemingly relieved.
Cursed? Who said that? Annette? I will have a word with her. This place is not cursed. It has a robustly magnetic energy. Good for commercial activity. My business is thriving, sir.
Doesn't feel like it's thriving. Feels ghostly.
Annette, yes, my daughter. I hope she wasn't slacking off again with her And what else can I do for you?
The display rack is brimming with worn paperbacks featuring an extremely muscular, sword-wielding barbarian on the cover. Nearly all the titles contain the word Heimdall somewhere.
Oh, Man from Heimdall. A very popular series of adventure novels. They're awfully immoral and violent books. Blood and violence, scantily clad women, epic narratives, all those mystical things he encounters. They're bound to grab those with little imagination and nothing to do. What does it matter? They're all the same. However, the customer is always right, they say. If you're a novice of the series, I'd recommend Heimdallaman, the man from Heimdall. It's supposed to be a good introduction to the series.
Rows and rows of Heimdallamen blur your vision. You make out some titles. Man from Heimdall and the Mammoth Riders. Man from Heimdall, Return to Heimdall. And the solipsistic Man from Heimdall and the Heimdall Man. Maybe 100. Man from Heimdall and the Sages at the End of the World. Man from Heimdall and the False God. Man from Heimdall and the Scorched Earth. Man from Heimdall, the Heimdall Colonies. Man from Heimdall and the Swamp Beast. Man from Heimdall and the Snow Crabs. Not even close. Man from Heimdall in Hell. Man from Heimdall and the Forest of Slaves. Man from Heimdall under the lake. Man from Heimdall, Heimdall burning. There's even the nothing of interest. Only silence and a small mountain of colorful board game boxes. There are numerous types of games for all ages. A lot of shelf space seems to be taken up by Wirral-related merchandise. An endless variety of source books, lore books, and codices litter the table. The topmost book is titled Welkin Compendium, 2nd edition. There's also a large hardbound tome with intricate cover art, The Hunters of Katawak, Boreal Creature Compendium, and a Pick Your Path adventure game book titled Tales of Wirral, Cavern of Velkrag. Books in a board game section? Who wants to read books? There's a box that says Wirral, 3rd edition Mega Setting Supplements Module. The side panel notes, a fantastique adventure board game, new maps and miniatures. A sticker on it displays 25 real. That price is steep, But then it's the 3rd edition Mega Setting supplement, so it makes sense.
Wonderful board games, sir. The Viticulturist is a classic for sure, or perhaps you'd like Archipelagos of Insulinda, a very educational game for those interested in geography. Raubritter is a fun game of economic competition, but can get quite intense after a while. We have games for the whole family. You can play with your children.
Who are you going to play board games with? Do you have friends or family? Are you actually friends? Or just colleagues thrown together by circumstance?
Friends are technically like family. For playing with friends, I'd recommend Suzerainty. It's a civilization building game where you build a civilization, then set off to brutally colonize and repress other civilizations. It'll cost 12 real. Lousy auras there. No, role-playing games are popular among those types. You know, who are into those kind of things. Personally, I don't like it. Not at all. I've heard they turn people into occult enthusiasts. That they have rituals where they try to summon entities. Highly immoral stuff. You can still buy them, though.
A sulfur-crested cockatoo sits on the cover, its beak slightly open. Turns out that there are so many different cockatoos.
It's a must-have if you own a cockatoo. I've heard they're quite capricious.
These shelves are overburdened.
Oh, crime, robberies, You're a police officer, apparently. You should buy all of these. They really do teach a person how to be a proper detective.
Note, reading about Dick Mullen would not actually make you a better detective. Crime fiction is a disgrace. An asinine misrepresentation of the physical attributes of the arduous everyday work of actual police officers. These books greatly overstate the excitement of police work, glossing over how long it takes to actually follow up on leads and eliminate dead ends. What's more, they completely ignore the psychological hardships of year after year coming into contact with people during the worst days of their lives. Not a single mention of all the stress this work creates upon the officer's family. Detective fiction just doesn't tell the truth at all. Now, would you like a list of all the books found on the shelf? You see Dick Mullen on the job. Get Me Mullen. The Stalwart Adventures of Richard P. Mullen. Dick Mullen and the Murder in the Orchard. The Sordid Affair of Dick Mullen. A killing is declared. Dick Mullen in the Murder House. The Final Case of Dick Mullen. An Obvious Lie. Dick Mullen in the Clock Tower. The Ordeals of Dick Mullen. Dauntless Dick. Dick Mullen's Funeral Pyre. The Murder of Dick Mullen. Oh no, turns out he faked it to solve a case. Yes, there's also The Dame Who Did It. Farewell, My Mullen. Faking death seems to be a common trope in the Mullen series. The Morbid Tales of Dick Mullen. A dark tide turns. Tragedy calls for Dick Mullen. Another one with fake death. And, of course, Dick Mullen, the murderer. In order to catch a murderer, Dick Mullen must become the murderer. Come on, this is not the way real police solve crimes. The real police are some 20 kilometers away, sitting in an armored motor carriage.
Come on, Chester. Tell the story again.
Again? Man, I tell that one at least once a month. It's not that interesting.
The fuck it is. And these guys haven't heard it. You see, Chester here.
Gosh, why?
A very fucking dangerous case, ain't that right, Chester? They almost got you that time.
Yeah, sure came close. Alright, so I was tailing this guy called Francis the Shoe.
After all this, you still haven't found the answer to the one question that matters. Who is Dick Mullen? Your quick eye notices a small caterpillar crawling across the spine of a book. The title reads, Dick Mullen and the Mistaken Identity. A worn paperback from Dick Mullen's classic Hard-Boiled Phase. The premise seems to be that Dick Mullen is framed for the murder of his best friend and has just a few days to prove his innocence. Could it be the motifs of unstable identities and shocking betrayals? Then this is the book for you. The plaque on the shelf reads, Biographies of Famous People. You see a large variety of names, none of which ring a bell.
I would say... The Greatest Innocence. Yes, most certainly. It's an important educational tool, delving into the depths of history, religion, and their relation to innocentic power. A very influential historical figure. But surely I don't have to tell you that. You're a law officer, and law officers have at least some education. The book is also very daring. The author aims to re-examine the universal understandings of the innocentic system, creating a fresh vantage point and a shift in the tired order of things. Certainly, it's prudent for a person to have at least an elementary understanding of history and society. Imagine the chaos we'd be in otherwise.
You feel like you should get this one. Definitely. It's important somehow. There's something personal inside. Browsing through all the books with all their names makes your head spin. None of these seem important or relevant. It's odd. Suddenly, a particularly odd title catches your eye. It reads, High Speed Love. The tragic High Speed Love chronicles the romance between two of the finest tip-top tourney racers in history. One of them is the madcap driver, Jacob Irv. His blonde mane graces the cover. Next to Irv's life story, you see a slim biography of an Occidental rock star called the Anti-Star. He's famous for shooting morphine into one of his eyeballs and cocaine into the other. Next to that, Revacholian radio personality Guillaume Bevy stands in front of a rundown drug den. He's a permanent fixture on Channel 8, reporting on real-life crime and ruining cops' days.
I really must insist you buy one of the books.
She understands she has erred against the customer and immediately corrects course.
I'm sorry, I did not mean to rush you. You are browsing. Go ahead. Take your time. Time is commerce.
Several maps have been... The maps look old and faded. Your eye catches a map of Insulinda, a map of Revachol, and a map of Martinaise. This large map displays archipelagos. You see a constellation of small dots on the light blue emptiness of the Insulindic Ocean. The largest in the northeast is La Caillou. You are here. Another, far away in the southwest, Seminese Islands, Ile de Fantôme. Ozon, Laurentide, Face à la Mer, Archipelagos, North Arcade Islands, all just specks of dust on the vastness of the Insulindic. On the edges of the map, the color fades into a blur of dotted lines, black disintegrating into mathematics. In the northeast, a dust mite stands on the north coast of Caillou in a bookstore. It's you. You can, on Caillou, Revachol, a single black star, on Ozon, Fondelier, and Vilmandoux, on Archipelagos, Croyan Moran, Villiers, on Seminine, Olduvai, and on Laurentide, Deora of the Seven Seas. Lost little pearls of light, tiny fires in the dark. 850 million people live on these little dots, an oceanic world of culture and commerce torn apart by history. The ocean breaks apart into a tangle of cosines and azimuths. all pointing into pale nothingness. Windy is the north azimuth. Grad is the northeast azimuth. Samara is the east azimuth. Seo is the west azimuth. Isolas, they're called. Connections to other worlds. Words past the Insulindian, unknown to you. You only know you've never been there. 850 million people live on these tiny dots. And the north coast of a verdant island is shattered by the delta of a river. It is the River Esperance. Countless bridges put the shards back together, connecting city blocks to river islands. La Delta says a great artificial heart in the center, teeming with life forms and construction. To the east, rolling hillsides, Le Jardin, Stella Marie, the suburbs of Saint-Baptiste, swallowed up into the megacity. They sound rich to you. This is Rivershell East. Hudon, it's somewhere to live, not bad. Then there's Jamrock. It's bad. People shouldn't live there, but they do. Then Forburg. It's almost as bad, and much larger. Then Coal City. It's the worst. It's so small you can't even see it on the map. No, wait. There it is, north of Jamrock, the strip of coast next to the Greater Rivershell Industrial Harbour. It looks downright despondent. It's almost Coal City, to be honest. No, this is somewhere to be. This is all you have. But it's still something. Streets and sodium lights, the sky, the world. You're still alive. It's not really a map. It's a tourist thing. A picture postcard with buildings on it, drawn from an isometric perspective. A date in the upper right corner says 48. Still, it's detailed. Could be pretty useful for scouting ahead. You see the jagged boxes of an industrial harbour, even the whirling in rags there.
I'm sorry, officer. The map of Mart, they're quite valuable, though they might not look it. The map of that old thing, it's an out from when some design studio people tried to spruce the place up 4 or 5 years ago. They also renovated the horse statue, set up those coin-operated viewers, and designed the new street lamps. They didn't get that far, for some reason. A shame the project never got going. Would be nice if someone fixed Martinez up. All these ruins are bad for business.
You see a set of tattered curtains.
Excuse me, officer. The back room is strictly for employees only.
You see some kind of charm, an irregular polyhedron assembled from bones, sticks, and straw. Inside, a disturbing fish head with empty eye sockets stares at you. This is a traditional Seminese ward, meant to provide protection against ill luck, bad dreams, curses, and other supernatural scourges. Inhabitants of Ile de Fantôme, the Seminide Islands down south. Aside from poking at it suspiciously, there is nothing else to do with the fishhead charm at this time. The curtains remain shut before you.
Nothing. Now please go back to browsing the books. Don't you feel compelled to look at the books? The books are all you care about.
She speaks almost as if she's trying to put a spell on you, urging you to buy more books. Oddly enough, the more she tries to draw you away from the curtains, the more alert. Just as you're about to pull apart the curtains.
Sir, don't touch that. I told you it's off limits for the customers. Parapsychologically speaking, we're done if you decide to open them. I won't be held responsible for the consequences. It's too... No!
There is something mysterious about the curtains. Be careful. The curtains, tattered with age and covered in dust, hang before you. You see a dimly lit room full of dusty furniture and trash. A doorway stands in the back, covered in dozens of scary little Seminese wards, your shadow looming over it like an omen.
I warned you. You're unleashing forces beyond your understanding.
A heavy door with a missing handle stands before you, covered in dozens, if not only an echo. No one is there.
I wasn't kidding when I said we're parapsychologically done. You clearly don't care about the consequences. Don't expect my help from now on. The back door is locked and I threw away the key. I won't trifle with such forces. Do look at the books, though.
There. Working class drunk. You know what this means, right? Cracked it. All in a good day's work. What do you mean, what did I crack? Yes, and you found him. Didn't she repeatedly tell you her husband isn't missing though? But he is missing. There's no need for champagne when there's honor, recruit.
God damn it, I already told you. My husband isn't missing. Very well then. Where is he? Excuse me?
There's something else hiding in her voice though. A trace of worry.
Right, 'cause working class women come with alcoholic husbands. You know what? You were right. I do have an alcoholic husband. Although not that one. I did, and he is. He's also an alcoholic. No, he's not. Or maybe he is, I don't know. He's probably in the park or in Shamrock somewhere, drinking with his friends. I haven't seen him for... Well, to hell with him.
There. She's worried now. She sighs, but you can detect a slight hint of gratitude and relief from her face.
All right, go ahead. Do you have any questions? Honestly, not that different from you. That's one way to put it, yes. No offense. I'd also add he's a little bit chubby. What else? He was wearing a dark brown leather jacket with a bright blue inner lining. The lining is hand-sewn. I made it myself. It's his cool jacket. God knows it's too cold to run around in this, but he refuses to change. I even tried throwing it away once, but he just dug it out of the bin. Can you believe it? Well, what can you do? I hope that at least that extra lining helps him keep warm at night. I wouldn't like him to catch cold.
She's thinking about him out in the cold, in some park, or on the coast. And it's making her more and more worried.
Yesterday morning, he went to the library. He went to retrieve my book, and he promised he'd walk straight back home. Because we talked about this. We talked about not wandering off again. I don't know what to do. I honestly don't know what to do with his addiction. Just makes me feel weak.
Gone for around 36 hours then. Damn, this is a missing persons case. She turns away from you in an attempt to recover.
So you are going to look for him?
She genuinely wants you to now. Don't make her ask.
Thank you. Please do. Even though I'm sure he will return home by himself. I'm still sure of that.
She tries to maintain a brave front, even though her eyes reveal the opposite.
I'm sure he will too. When he does, would you let Precinct 57, Kim Kitsuragi, know?
I will. Of course, officer. As I said, it's probably right.
She gives you a short nod.
Hi, Ace Detective.
The worn and beaten wooden planks of the bench do not look overly comforting.
We can sit on bench.
Life doesn't need to be a struggle. I'll be with you in a moment, officer. Let me just finish my sandwich.
Have you no shame? Whining about your back every time you bring out the measuring tape.
René, you're a man with a fork in a world of soup. Please, let's just try to enjoy the game, all right?
I'm trying to, but you keep breaking my concentration. You're old. I can see that. We're both old. Now stop grabbing your ass like it's a girl.
These manly men are playing balls. This is a ball game. Grab a ball and play it. Don't ask questions. That's the spirit. Don't even waste your breath asking about the game.
See? Your munching and complaining have ruined my concentration.
Ah, mon Dieu. The pain in my back is unbearable. I can't even say if it's in my back or hip anymore. Feels like it's in both.
I hope you pass out from it, you goddamn jellyfish. Men like you are the reason this nation is sinking.
Trying to throw something as close to a predetermined point as possible. Measuring. This must be the age-old game of petanque. Shush. Ignore them. They don't know what they're doing. They're old. You are letting down yourself and the team. Get eyes on the ball, Dinky Winky. You are immediately surprised by the ball's lack of weight. No matter, you'll make it work. The cold metal ball is surprisingly smooth against your neck. It has a pattern on it, probably a sponsored ball. Yours would only be covered with bumps of learning and scars of victory. Already your muscles are adjusting to the weight, the nervous system calibrating, until you and the ball have merged into a single entity. The man ball is ready. A chilly breeze ruffles your hair as you stand there, feet firmly planted. All sounds, smells, even the wind, everything fades until the only thing left is the union of man and ball. An embodiment of pure motion, a fine-tuned locomotor running at maximum efficiency. Some would still say you're a cop, but I guess we're beyond that now.
Merde! Bordel de merde!
It wasn't mid. The shot was at least 23 meters, probably 24 and then some. Nothing to be embarrassed about.
What the hell is your problem? I don't care if you are a cop. You do not just ruin someone's game. It's you vandalized our game, son. We can't play petanque with 5 bull. Well, it damn well isn't. It's petanque. You ruined a petanque game. We want our bull back.
Take it easy, René. This is just a misunderstanding, isn't it, officer?
Of course there's harm done, you orange slug. You owe us a goddamn bull. Good. Mistakes are forgiven when men at least try to right their wrongs. I believe you will try. Now, why did you approach us?
You never know. He might know something. This is a good vantage point. Just talk. It'll smooth things over. Old people like attention.